Alright, now let's make her. Who got some good joke? Let's make her laugh.
Anybody have a good joke?
Shit. Find a joke on the internet.
She's not amused.
Who's your favorite comedian?
Stuart Lee. But you should pick someone funnier than that.
I'm mousey.
Hello, Daniel.
How you doing?
I can feel my heart beating really heavily. It's like thumping in my chest.
Anxiety or excitement?
They're both the same thing. It's just a matter of branding them. You know, it's just adrenaline rushing through your bloodstream. So it feels like nerves right now. But I'm a performer, so are you. You end up on stage.
Oh man.
So it'll morph into excitement any minute now, I'm sure.
So right now it's branded as anxiety.
Yes, it is, but do you have that before you get on stage?
I used to a lot. I remember I used to be, when I was performing, it would be like, I have to play these songs this way, I have to add effects this way, I have to have this song right after, it has to mix properly, like you have all these technical things that you have going on, and then it just takes away from it, and it remains anxiety through the whole set.
Yeah.
It never transformed into excitement. And so, like, after a while, you just have to, like, after all, what I did is I just took it in stride. It's just like, if I mess up, that's a moment that we all experience as, like, say, the crowd and me, you know?
Yeah.
It's like a moment that never was supposed to happen, which is, in my eyes, is kind of special.
Improvisation.
Yeah. Like, you'll never get that moment again.
Yeah,
it's here and then it's gone.
I still get nerves before I get on stage.
Really?
Yeah, and it's unpleasant for a moment, but then it becomes this energy that kind of propels me onto stage and getting through it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're so right about making errors. Like, I used to go on with this absolutely waterproof, completely tight plan, and then it messes up and you have no way out of it, and there's no need to, be so strict with yourself.
Yeah, and it's almost like it makes it even worse when you, like, because what I do, like, if I make a mistake, I'm like I really get down on myself on it.
Yeah.
And then, like, it just ruins the rest of what I do after that,
Yeah, and I think this is where being well rehearsed and being like a good musician and sort of having your chops after all those years go, because there's been so many times now when I think I've completely fucked up a performance, but someone's recorded it, someone like streamed it on Facebook, someone put it on Instagram, and this actually happened to me this week. There was this performance I did in December, and I was like, man, all of those high notes, totally missed them, whatever, no one noticed, no big deal. And I saw the video back like just a couple days ago.
Yeah.
I was totally wrong. I killed it. Like, and it's funny how your perception can be so different from the reality.
You just gotta get out of your head every once in a while. Like, sometimes, you can't make it into like a battlefield. Just sometimes you just gotta get out of it, and whatever happens, kind of just happens. It's like a flow of things.
The battlefield is with me, though.
Yeah, like you're like your own, like how they say you're on your own worst critic.
Yeah.
Or, and so it's all between the ears, man. It's crazy.
I think it has a little bit to do with, for me, what I love about music and why I do music in the first place. And music for me has always been a solitary activity. It's been me alone in my bedroom, getting into my head, and frankly, like, trying to ride this wave of having a peak experience. I love so much when I nail a take, because to me that's like when everything aligns and it's the most amazing feeling in the world. And when that happens on stage, it's even better. But
there's no beating it. It's like it's literally drugs. You know, it's like you get that, like you said, it's your peak. Your peak is being on stage, being in that moment, and you know, just being at that height and sharing it with everybody else. You know, it's like you'll never get that back, and then you're always chasing for the next one. You know, I'm always chasing that, and when I don't hit that, it's still good enough, but I leave the stage not feeling it was good enough. So, and how long did it take you to get comfortable with that kind of setup, or how long did it take you to get comfortable as you are now, I guess? It took me... Are you comfortable now? Yeah. No, I'm totally... I'm comfortable now. You're as yourself as you're gonna be? I still think there's a lot of room for growth there. Gotcha. And I look forward to seeing that. But I'm confident that I have something to offer. Absolutely. And I think that changed for me because I was practicing with this equipment, like working in isolation in North Dakota. And then I moved down to Los Angeles. And on the way down to Los Angeles, I did a tour. And I booked some dates in South Dakota, Colorado, New Mexico, Texas. And each place along the way, I got really positive feedback. And I really needed that to have the confidence to move to Los Angeles. Because I knew the competition here would be fierce. Yeah, for sure. And not that it is a competition, but I didn't want to get on stage and be doing something corny or silly or not worthwhile. And so after having toured down here and having had that experience, I was like, oh, I do have something to offer. Let's go do this. Yeah. So it was, for me it was putting it in front of people and getting that feedback a little bit and seeing. I needed that. Yeah, for sure. So when did you move out here? You moved out here to LA how many years ago? A year and a half ago. A year and a half ago from North Dakota. Yes. But you don't have a North Dakota accent? No, I don't. Where is your accent from? My family moved to North Dakota in 2001. Before that, I was living in London. But all my family were Irish. That's where I was born. Both my parents have an Irish accent. Gee, so you're just all over the place. Huh? Yeah, I grew up in Canada as well. We moved around a lot when I was growing up. Where would you say you had most of your development in? Where would you say you grew up? At this point in my life, it's been evenly divided into thirds. Really? Like a third in Canada, a third in the UK, a third in North Dakota, and now this new chapter. So it's so in the next 10 years, it's gonna turn into quarters. And there's gonna be the last quarter in Los Angeles. Yeah. And I know a lot of kids like me who are a product of globalization. Gotcha. Some of them are, raised in Thailand, Indonesia, Texas. Some of them are raised in France, Australia, Russia. I know these kids and I understand those kids and I feel I fit in with those kids no matter what weird group of countries they were raised in, because we don't really have a home and we don't really fit in anywhere. My accent is too Americanized for the UK. You go back home now. Exactly. It's not the same. Exactly. It's very interesting that you say that because, what is that story then? What was your childhood like? How would you describe it? It was lovely. And had you asked me that 5 years ago, I don't think I'd have had that answer. Because I would have been angry at whatever, sometimes my parents, sometimes the circumstances, sometimes at myself for being an idiot when I was a teenager. But I've become so much more at peace with my childhood because I know my parents are such wonderful people. They did the best they could do. They did the best they knew how to, and they did a wonderful job. Yeah, that's why I said, I was I think like a while ago. I tweeted. I was like, don't be caught out here not trying your best. I
Yeah.
feel like everybody should be given a good effort at life. You know, like you should be giving your best foot forward and being the best person, best version of you, or making the next person the best version of them. You know.
I get so annoyed when people like romanticize and glamorize, like, I don't give a fuck, I don't care. I'm like, this is life, like, care about something. Come on now, like, that's not cool. There's nothing cool about that.
When I see people, like, for me, I wouldn't say I don't believe in age. Obviously, you know, your age plays a part in saying, like, oh, fuck it all, you know, like, I'm just gonna live my life. But I kind of associate that with just like not asking the right questions. I think wisdom starts from getting your questions like answered, or asking the right question and seeing what answers you can associate to them. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like if you're still going through life like saying fuck you haven't asked enough questions about everything to make a decision on saying fuck it all, you know. It's a weird, and I just associate that as just, all right, so you're still figuring this whole thing out, like, but right now you're angry. They're probably at that stage where you were in it as a teenager, where you're just like angry, you know.
Ooh, good cool.
You know,
it's almost like a case of arrested development when you're still pulling that shit in your 20s.
Yeah. It sometimes it carries on. It lingers on for other people, you know. And I think everybody's just different. Like everybody, you're just a product of your experiences, your perspective, your environment.
Yeah.
And so, like, I guess their experiences are showing them that, you know.
Something I'm most proud of myself for is not having become cynical. And it's one of my goals for the rest of my life, because I've met so many people and I've known them in high school, and 10 years later their hearts have closed down. They have no more ambitions, they're just done. There's just this cynicism that's crept in, and once it gets into your heart, I think it's hard to get out again.
It's like your heart becomes hardened. It's hard to, like, you know, break it down again. It's you know, it'll take, what do you think it'd take to, if it's even possible to, like, reverse a hardened heart, I guess, you know.
This sounds terrible, but probably, like, perhaps life circumstances getting even worse.
Really?
Sometimes you have to sink lower to bounce back up again.
Definitely, I feel that.
Like, have your world shaken a little bit, whether that's by something super amazing or super tragic.
Just getting shaken down to, like, the core. Because that's where you discover the most of yourself, you know. It's it sucks, but you have to go down to, like, you have to get, like, that blood on the page just to be able to write about it.
Totally.
It's a weird thing we have to face as humans, you know.
Totally. And I find the most compelling art is born out of it. I'm addicted to the struggle. I love hearing the struggle. Like, if you're not fighting with that piece of music, you can almost hear it. It's like it's too easy. It's not interesting or challenging.
I feel like people don't listen to that enough. Like, that's all I'm listening. Like, I mean, obviously I'm a beat maker, so a lot of the music I listen to is instrumental. But, you know, when there are words, like, I'm hearing, all right, where's this artist's spirit at? You know, like, what are the voices in their head saying, you know? And I think most of the time, like, the best music comes from the person's worst times, you know what I'm saying? And it's crazy to me, because as an artist, this is the strange thing about it, is as an artist, you can sit there and pen out, like, the worst times of your life, and then you put it out to the world and they're dancing to it.
Ooh.
you know, they're having the best time of their life. You know, it's just that complete irony.
When you put it like that, that's completely perverse.
Yeah.
That kind of reminds me of my Snapchat a couple months ago. I was really, really active on Snapchat maybe like 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And I was a complete hot mess. And I realized when I had calmed down and kind of got out of the rocky patch that I was using Snapchat as a tool to get all these feelings out, because I found it easier to express these things on screen by myself than with my friends in person.
It takes away from that whole human element a little bit. Like you're talking to the mirror at that point.
Exactly. And also, like, your primal brain isn't going off, because when you're in the company of other humans, it's other animals, and so you're like flashing danger. Your brain is like looking out for this, looking out for that. When you're all alone, it's just you and the screen. I could just talk, and I had these really interesting conversations with people. But now that I look back on that time, I'm almost resentful of the people who started following me around then. And I don't mean my friends, I mean strangers.
Just the strangers.
My Snapchat started to get a little bit poppin' for a minute.
Yeah.
And then it got weird, and then I recoiled. But I'm like, why were those people watching? Like, what were they getting out of that? That was really morose.
Yeah. I mean, it might be that they empathize with you at that point, where I don't know if they were able to pick up that it sounded like it was a kind of a dark time.
Very much so.
In your life. Maybe they were going through that same dark time. But then, like you said, it is kind of perverse, because what if they're not, and they're just there for the entertainment?
Yeah, totally.
Like, at that point, it'd be weird for you to see your life as entertainment at that point, when it's obviously a very tough time.
I am a fan of, well, fan is the wrong word. I do like reality television.
Really? Is that your guilty pleasure?
That is a huge guilty pleasure.
What do you like about it?
I like the editing, because I think the editors are the unsung comedic heroes.
Yeah, for sure.
Behind reality television.
Yeah.
But it's like reality TV, it's just not a good enough fix for me anymore. Now it's like Snapchat and Facebook Live and Instagram Live, because that's real reality.
Reality TV moved to your pocket. It's social media now. And it's funny, because like, I'm terrible at Snapchat. Like, I think I've said this before, but like, I just don't know how to use it. But I love looking at other people, just to see, that's how they're. Sometimes I'm completely underwhelmed by everybody's lives. It's just like, this is it, huh? You know, like, it's just one of those things. It's just like something to look at and not think about too much. I had to train my brain not to like take it so serious, you know, because there's few things that actually matter, you know. Yeah. And Snapchat is definitely not one of them.
Speak for yourself, Daniel. Whatever.
Snapchat is life for you, right? So then, like, I guess, what does matter to you? What does matter in life to you?
There's something about getting to the core of what people really want to express that's interesting to me, and that comes up in my life constantly through art. And I mentioned this before to you, but particularly independent arts, like not the things coming out of a Hollywood studio, not the things on big label music, but if people could talk about these things, we wouldn't have a need for them to create these masterpieces. Yeah. And so I'm so interested in these really elaborate symbols unique to everybody's brain, and those are the symbols that they use through their craft to express themselves. So with you it's music, with Rothko it's painting, with me it's singing or whatever the hell else I'm up to. And I'm really interested in seeing people get to the core of that, and then interpreting their symbols as best I can, and you know, relating to it, loving it, hating it. That makes me feel alive.
Yeah, I feel like we're all drawn to that poetry of life. You know, it's like art to me. I think I forgot where I heard it from, but like there was this concept that I heard that like if you really notice, if you really dig deep, like all art imitates nature. You know. Especially if coming from the artist, maybe it's expressing their own nature and stuff. So like if you see a painting, you're gonna associate it to something that you see, like a tree or something, or you're gonna associate it to like the wind. You know, all art, you know, is gonna imitate something that's we have no power over. You know, at some point, you know.
Yes.
So even if it's, you know, expressing ourselves, sometimes you gotta realize like some things about you have no control over. You know what I'm saying? And I think realizing that the best art emerges. You know. It's expressed through art. It makes us alive and stuff. It's like, you know, it gives us blood. You know, it's where the life comes from.
Have you ever read Jung's Man and His Symbols?
No, what is
Jung is a psychologist. He would have come after Freud, and I'm not a huge fan of Freud. But Jung was much more into dreams and the subconscious life. Hence, like Man and His Symbols.
Yes.
And so I'm really interested in everybody's own unique symbols here. And this thought crossed my mind maybe like a year or so ago. It was when I was driving down here to Los Angeles, and I had a gig in Texas, and I hadn't drank or smoked in a really long time. And that night, for the first time in 3 months, I, you know, just got kind of wasted. And my brain kept going to all these images just flickering really quickly. And they were all images that were really reminiscent of my childhood in Canada. The art, the nature, the house I lived in, the snow. And it got me thinking about this whole part of my brain that I hardly ever access, but that probably influences my entire aesthetic every day.
I feel you, because like it's just like those little subtleties that like I forget how much of our brain we actually use day to day. Like there's like the small percentage of our brain that we actually use, but then like what happens to the rest of that large percentage that we don't use day to day? I feel like that's where all that stuff goes. Like it's just waiting there to be plucked. And I don't know, I think that's what kind of draws everybody to like the elements and like drugs and like alcohol, is because after a while, when you're here living on Earth, right? Like we kind of just get desensitized, and we're not children anymore. Like, you know, as children, like children are always like fascinated with everything around them. Like they're just, you can see like, you'll see a mom, like I bet you if you walk the street right now, you see a mom and their child, you'll see the mom like just real gung-ho about walking down that street, and then the kid, she has a kid in her hand, and the kid is just like about 2 steps behind, just like looking at everything around them, right? But I feel like we just disconnect from that little kid, you know, as we get older, and then our vices are made to like kind of bring us back to that, you know? Absolutely.
It gets us
like
maybe back to a more basic brain and just finding joy in really basic things, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Like there's a yearning that we all have different ways of trying to achieve that, but like there's a yearning for everybody to get back to their core, you know, because I feel like there are certain things in us that never change. It's just embedded in us, you know.
Definitely.
You think like our personalities are a product of our experiences and how we our perspectives on those, or do you think we're like born with our personality?
It's gotta be a mixture of both, because I know I was sassy as hell as a kid, and I know that continues.
You?
And I know, it's really hard to believe.
Not you.
But I also know that's mellowed out, and life has humbled me in many ways. And I'm an older sister, and my little brother was always so stubborn, and he remains incredibly stubborn.
Yeah.
So I think when you see children raised in the same family, you do see some things that just happen naturally from birth. But yeah, definitely, there's big enough experiences to change one's perspective. Maybe not one's core, but one's perspective.
That's perspective on it and how they like continue for the next. I think that's where like the evolution comes in, and like how you evolve as a person.
Yeah.
Or change as a person, because I think those are two different things.
Were you raised in California?
Yeah. I was born in New Orleans. I stayed there for a whole 2 weeks, and then my parents, mostly my dad, was like, all right, let's go to California, because he hated New Orleans, and you'd have to ask him why, because he has a better explanation than I do. But we just moved to California, and he was like, he got a U-Haul and just got my mom while she was when I was only 2 weeks old, and just we all moved to California. So I was raised here. Yeah.
Are you the eldest?
I am.
So do you feel like maybe you were born and your dad was like, right, you've got to like do this now, like we have a kid, no more of this? Because I think that would change the stakes of one's life very much to have a child.
Yeah, for sure. I think I was just talking to my little brother about it the other days. I don't know if you heard J. Cole's latest album. I haven't, no. But there's interesting perspective in there where I think he had a kid. I don't know if he had a kid recently, or because the whole album is kind of written from a different perspective, like a perspective of his friend. But you hear in that album that the fact that he had a kid, or whoever had a kid, made them become a man. You know what I'm saying? Like, it changed their whole perspective. I feel like that happens later. It's starting to happen later and later with people. You know, for men especially. Yeah. And like it seems like our maturation rate is kind of like it's elongating. It's like it's getting long. It's happening later in life. Yeah. And like you said, it takes something something drastic to happen for them to get shooken down to their core, to realize, I got to be this person. I got to be better than what I am now, you know? Yeah, totally. And so I think that's what happened with my dad, or I don't know. I mean, I wish I was a fly on the wall for that whole, like, him coming home and telling my mom, all right, we're going. You know? And she's like, I just had a baby. Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm still in pain. Is it like, and you want me to move over how many states? You know, like, and I think they drove the whole time, which is crazy. Like, I was like, geez. But yeah, I'd say that was the case. I feel like something clicked for my dad where he was like, all right, we got to make this happen for sure. I think this never occurred to me until you were talking about that. Yeah. But I think it was a really similar thing with my family as well. Because I was born in Ireland, my family's all Irish, and then when I was 3 months old, we emigrated to Canada. Yeah. So I'm on this airplane at 3 months old. You know, my family they never lived in a different country before. Yeah.
And I think,
so crazy.
Yeah, I
don't know how like our parents did that kind of stuff.
I
Like,
know.
How do you just move to a different country? Like, but go ahead. Sorry.
No, just I think it was a similar thing. My dad, I think just life got real for him,
Yeah.
and Ireland, it's it's part of the EU now. It's relatively industrialized, but we left in the 80s for a really good reason. It was poor. There wasn't that many great jobs.
Yeah.
And my dad just saw an opportunity to create a better life for his family.
It takes balls. Like how do you just pick up and go? Like we have a hard enough time just like me, I have a hard enough time just moving, because I've lived in the same complex that I live in now for the last 3 years. But I have
You're like, I'm not going.
Yeah, like, but I've moved to different buildings, and that's been a tough decision. Like in the same complex, so I can imagine moving across the world, and just setting up shop, just like, all right, let's get it. Like I'm sure, were your parents were they like filthy rich when they came here?
No, not at all.
Yeah, so it's all based off of hope and a dream. When
Absolutely.
It's like you don't know what's gonna happen, but you know that you're gonna work towards it, and that's like mind-boggling to me. It's just like not having a firm grasp of what's gonna happen in the next year or so to me, like how my income is gonna come in, or like just how I'm gonna protect and feed my family when I have one in the future. Is just like, I don't know, man. Like that takes some kind of nerve that I think is dwindling from our generation. It's kind of weird, All right, yeah. So just to wrap it up, like, what do you think the world doesn't know about you, but definitely should?
Oh my goodness. I purposely didn't prepare this question because I wanted to see the first thing that came into my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing that came into my mind was that I wasn't expecting to be alive this long.
Really?
I'm amazed. I'm really grateful and amazed I'm still alive. Yeah. I was just thinking, when I was a teenager, I didn't really have a plan past 25.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really proud of myself, and my greatest achievement, like I said before, it's not being cynical anymore. I was very, very difficult up until my 20s, and I feel so much lightness now that that's been kind of unburdened from myself.